Bridget Phillipson. Bridget is the Shadow Education Secretary. And Bridget, good morning. Obviously, like the rest of us, Panto season has started, and you're watching, and you will watch with great interest, the vote on the Rwanda bill tonight, which I presume you'll be voting for it.
We won't be supporting the government this evening. I mean, I expect they will get their legislation through. They have a big majority in Parliament, but we don't believe what they're setting out around the Rwanda project is the right way to be approaching this. We don't think it's a workable scheme. We think it's a total gimmick, and we've already sent £300 million, or we'll be sending a total and rising of £300 million to Rwanda with no plans to send anyone there.
It's interesting, I was reading a piece by the former Defence Secretary, obviously a Conservative, but trying to rally people who are concerned about this bill within his own party, saying that we shouldn't turn this into an exercise of making the perfect the enemy of the good. I mean, he's concerned that with all this wrangling over the minutiae of this bill, that actually we'll end up not being able to get a grip of this situation. And they've published their projections that if something isn't done about it, we could be spending £11 billion a year on migrant hotels. That's £32 million a day.
I mean, it is scandalous how much we are spending on housing people in unsuitable accommodations such as hotels. It currently stands at £8 million a day that we spend on that. The reason is because we're not processing cases quickly enough. There is an absolutely huge backlog of cases that need to be processed, so we would take action to bring down that backlog, and we need to see more effective action around stopping illegal migration where it comes to the criminal smuggling gangs. Again, an area where the government have completely failed to take the action that's necessary. So rather than undeliverable gimmicks like Rwanda, we would have effective cross-border working with a new policing unit to tackle those gangs and to stop the exploitation, the terrible exploitation that and misery that they bring to so many people.
So presumably, if you win the next general election, reforming what arrangement we do or don't have with Rwanda would be a priority.
I think reforming our arrangements with our European partners would be a bigger priority, because we need to have more effective arrangements for returning people who don't have cause to be here in the UK. But we do just need to process cases far more quickly. Well over 100,000 cases, they're not being processed. And that includes people who do have a legitimate right to be here, who have fled persecution and oppression. But for those who don't, we need to process their cases so they can be returned to a safe, returned home or to a safe alternative country. That's not happening at the moment because the Home Office has been left in a total shambles by this government.
The government would say that they have signed returns agreements with France, Bulgaria, Turkey, Italy, Georgia and, of course, Albania, and are making significant progress, returning record numbers this year. But when it comes to the issue of net migration, we know that illegal crossings is a small proportion, and Labour have been very slippery and cagey about committing to a figure about where they think net migration should sit and what that figure should be. Would you care to give us a number?
Well, to return to the point about where we have seen progress, we've been calling for action around Albania. I think that does show what can be done when you've got a government that will work with other countries to do it. The Rwanda scheme is not an effective or reasonable way of doing that. That's the issue. Where it comes to legal migration, of course there is a balance to strike, but I think we've seen the perils in the past of governments, going back to David Cameron, who sought to put a figure on that, have never met that target, and I think it shows the pitfalls of that kind of approach. But we do need a balanced approach as a country, a fair and workable system for people who come here legally to work, to contribute to our economy, to our vital public services, but it has to be a fair system that takes account of the wider needs of the economy too. I also think we do need to do a lot more to invest in skills and in the people who are already here. That's why Labour's got plans around more apprenticeship starts, greater support and training for young people, so that we are meeting those skills gaps that we see, and that there are more opportunities for people to train here in the UK. But as a nation, of course, people will always come from overseas to contribute to our country. That is the long history of our country has been all about that, and I'm standing here today talking to you as someone whose family moved over from Ireland to work in the NHS to make that contribution as we rebuilt after the war. So of course there is a balance, but there are benefits that come of migration if properly managed with a fair system.
Which is a very neat way of avoiding the question altogether. But on that note, Bridget Phillipson, we say goodbye. Thank you very much indeed for your time this morning.
Thank
Shadow
you.
Education Secretary.
Compliments of the season to you, Bridget.
Merry Christmas.
And to you both. Hope you have a lovely Christmas.
Where in Ireland were your family from? Where did they move from?
From the West Coast. My grandma came over from Galway to train in the North East as a nurse.
And do you ever go back and have a look at the family roots and Galway and all that area?
I've been, yes, absolutely. I've been back there many times over the years, holidays with my grandparents. But sadly, like lots of Irish families, people have mainly emigrated now to other countries. I've probably got more family here in London than I do do back in Ireland now.
And you certainly have got the accent that disassociates you from the west coast of Ireland. But maybe sometime we'll have a chat.